Hello, I'm Mike Watts, publisher of RiversandFeathers.com, a website devoted to short stories on just about anything fly fishing. Welcome to our Rivers and Feathers instructional fly tying videos. Along with Alex Hawley, a former student and teaching assistant in fly fishing and fly tying, and an excellent fly tyer, we'll be leading you on the different patterns and recipes as we go along our journey, and use these patterns to help you catch more fish. Alex will also talk about some of the techniques on how to fish the flies and where to fish them as he explains the recipes. Welcome to Rivers and Feathers.
The next fly we're going to tie is a wet fly. In particular, this is what they call a partridge and orange fly. This is basically because you're using an orange thread and a partridge feather to tie this fly. There's the only two ingredients, which makes it super simple, yet super effective. To begin this fly, I like to have a fulling mill nymph hook. This isn't a size 12. There's also many other hooks that you can use. However, I find this one to be very effective. I'll then begin wrapping my Vivas thread along the shank of the hook, making sure I have 5 to 6 wraps secured on before trimming my excess. Now, since this fly only consists of thread and one partridge feather, I like to make sure that I have a nice, even, uniform body. To do this, I leave my thread just before the bend of the hook before I start building my body forward. By doing this, all you do is wrap your thread over itself until it is the thickness that you like. In all aquatic insects that you see, you can see that they have a slight taper such that they are small in the back but big in the bottom. As you can see, I'm starting to build that taper just a little bit. And I like to leave my taper right at the middle of the hook is where I'll end it. And that's where I'll begin tying in my partridge feather. I think that's about good. So, to tie in my partridge feather, I'm using a Nature Spirit Premium Partridge Natural. I'll grab one partridge feather out of the package, and like we did in previous flies, I'll make sure that there's no fluff on the stem, but I'll also peel back one side of the feathers. And what this does is creates a less bulky fly in the water column. So I'll take those fibers and gently pull them from the stem. So now I only have just one side exposed. I'll then tie my tip in first, right where I left my thread. I'll make 2 wraps over the stem, as well as 2 wraps in front of the stem, just to make sure it's nice and secure and it's not going to go anywhere. Trim that tip section, and now you can begin wrapping your partridge on top of itself to create a nice wing case for that fly. And as you can see, by only using one side of this partridge feather, I have a nicely sparsed out wing case that's not too bulky and is not getting caught up on itself. I'll then take my thread and make one wrap over the stem, making sure that it's nice and secured. Now you can go ahead and trim out that stem of your partridge feather. As you can see, we have a nice shape. For the last part, we're just going to cover up this section of the fly, making sure we have a nice head that leads throughout the body. We can then take our whip finish tool make 5 to 6 wraps right there at the head of the fly. Pull it nice and tight and trim our thread. This fly can be fished in many different ways. It can be swung in a current as well as fished under any kind of nymph pattern. It's very effective, especially in the spring months when trout are beginning to rise and they're looking for those emerger patterns. It fishes very well and can have split shot added to it as well.
Thank you for tuning in to our Rivers and Feathers YouTube video on instructional fly tying. Also, be sure to tune in to the RiversandFeathers.com, where you'll find short stories on just about anything fly fishing. And we want to give a special thanks to Regal Vice. They have supported our efforts in our instructional videos, and we've enjoyed our revolution. And on that vise, you can tie anything from midges to monster flies. Remember, RiversandFeathers.com.